Hi, my name is Jessie from the Woodlot. I'm a woodworker and I make wood buttons and shawl pins and shawl sets, lots of other things too, but as far as knitters are interested, it's usually the buttons. This is Forrest, the shop sidekick. Aptly named because we live in Grey County, just outside of Walters Falls, on a 25-acre woodlot. So when we got this guy, we called him Forrest because that's where he spends most of his time chasing all the critters. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna start with a little bit of wood here and show you what it makes. So the one in the middle there with the orange center, that's European buckthorn, and it makes for some pretty buttons. So the ones I have completed here of the buckthorn are actually really dark. Oops, there we go. So they're a really dark color. So they would have come from more of a branch, kind of like this one or this one, not so much with the lighter outer here. So buckthorn buttons either have the light outer ring or the grayish outer ring, but they usually have an orangish center, which makes them really cool. We also have a lot of beech here. Beech is pretty cool. I don't know if you can see on the cross section right there, but the rings are kind of scalloped like a seashell. And there's also a bunch of rays, lines kind of pointing out, which makes for really nice beech buttons. I just have some little teeny tiny ones right here. But there we go. There's cherry right here. Sorry for all the up and down here. The cherry I have on the wall here is all bigger sticks. So these buttons would have come from a much smaller log, but it kind of gives you the idea. They're all a little bit different. So you can see this one's gonna have a bunch of flecking in the middle. This one, the rings are more visible. This one's gonna have like a lighter outer, a dark center. So each branch is pretty cool and unique. And there's over here spalted maple, which is super cool. It's always lucky when we can find something that spalts, because spalting happens, it's actually the beginning of rot. So when things are down on the ground, it's when all the fungus kind of gets into the wood and starts to eat it. So from my understanding anyways, the lines here are when you get two different fungus meeting and they're kind of duking out. Those are kind of like the war lines. So it's kind of neat. So it's kind of tricky too, because you need to find spalted wood while it has the markings in it and before it's too bad, because it does mean that the wood's starting to rot and it'll get punky. But as long as you catch it right away and remove it from that wet, damp situation, it stays. So a lot of my spalted buttons actually come from stuff like this, which is actual literal firewood that we would have been burning in the winter. But when I'm chucking things in the wood stove, I always take a look first and make sure to rescue any logs that look pretty interesting. All right, so I've pulled out a few shawl sticks to show you, just two different sizes for comparison. So these are the 4.5-inch sticks, and I make them out of 3 different woods. There's the maple, which is going to be the really light color, the cherry, which is the more reddish color, and the walnut, which will be the darker color. So I have them listed 4-inch, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, and I think 7-inch. Yeah, you need a slightly looser knit to get them through. The bigger ones here are a little thicker, so you definitely need a chunkier knit to get those through. But I make them with the curl, so that way they hold better. So they don't really slide in and out so much because they've kind of got those bumpies in them. So they hold pretty good. So those are shawl sticks. All right, so we also have shawl pin sets. So I've got a couple out here just to show you the size comparison. So this is the extra large size, and it's in cherry. This is the large size in maple. This is medium size in walnut, and then the small in maple. And the only real tip or trick to these is making sure when you're putting the stick in, you're going from the top down, kind of at an angle. I've seen a couple of people try and put them in from the bottom up, which may seem natural to do, but you're working against gravity there because you want to use gravity to your advantage. So gravity is always going to be pulling the heavier part down. So if you put that at the top, all that's ever going to happen is your pin will actually get tighter, so your garment will be more secure. Whereas if you're putting it in the wrong way, it'll loosen off a little bit. So yeah, just make sure you're always going from top and angling down when you secure your garment. So yeah, I do have circle and square, I think, listed online, and those are the 4 different sizes. So it just depends on your project, what works for you, and then those are the 3 different woods. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of quickly go through the different buttons that I have listed online right now for the Knitter's Frolic. This is gonna start with the small. So these guys are buckthorn. You got beech, walnut, which is darker. These are some spalted maples, kind of hard to see, but they're all a little different. Sorry, I turned them so the stickers weren't showing, but that's how I have to keep them organized, otherwise I'd be all confused. But yeah, so you can see they really vary in color. They're pretty cool. Some cherry. So these guys are going to be 1 inch exactly. Those are walnut, so they're really dark. Some little walnut rectangles, slightly bigger walnut. You got the beech. These are little beech rectangles. These are kind of fun. They're hard to see, but they are little rectangles of spalted maple. So that's kind of cool. These guys are fun. These are butternut. So butternut is related to walnut, but it's a little bit lighter. We do have some butternut trees. Unfortunately, most of them are falling down. It's a problem in Ontario with butternut. We do have a couple healthy ones, but the ones that have come down we're trying to process. So you can see, well, hopefully you can see, there's some really neat striping. So they're not quite as dark as walnut. They're a little lighter, and the cross cut in them is super cool. You get the striping. These little guys are maple that we're just starting to spalt. So you can see they've been down enough that you're just getting a little bit of the black lines in them. Apple. There's some beech with the really cool bark on them. You got some more cherry. Okay, and the larges are a little harder. They're in their containers, so they don't show as nicely. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we have some pretty cool ash ones there, and elm, and then cherry. And then these guys, yep, some more cherry. And these, I've got some spalted maple toggles, and then some spalted beech buttons there. And down here, some more spalted. So those are pretty cool. Spalted maple, and then some cherry. Those are for the large. A couple more spalted things in the middle. There we go. All right, so to make a button, what we're gonna do is take one of the sticks behind me here, which has already been drying for about a year, and then I'm going to take it over to the bandsaw. I'm going to slice the whole stick up, and then I would go to the drill press and drill holes, and then over to the belt and disc sander, and I would sand the whole button. That makes it sound real fast. It takes a lot longer than that, and I'll go through the machines and show you, but I'll just do a couple buttons at a time, so it goes real fast. But once they're all processed that way, what I do is I oven dry them just to make sure they're really, the wood is totally dry. So after the oven drying process, I finish them with pure tongue nut oil. So I buy the pure from Lee Valley, and you can get tongue nut oil at hardware stores or Home Depot, but it is all got chemicals in it that help it dry faster because it's a really slow drying oil. But I wanted to steer clear of chemicals, so I use the natural tongue nut oil. So it takes about a full month for buttons to dry, which is why anytime I get a special order, I always tell them it's a month out because it doesn't matter how fast I work, I have to wait for the oils dry. So yeah, so that's basically the process for making a button. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to have my big Darth Vader mask on to do that. Safety first. I always have a mask and ear defenders on. So I don't know if you can hear, that's the dog being a goof.